Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, the first I will introduce myself. My name is KIRANA PURWANINGRUM from MSDM Advanced C3 class. Want to present the second big task, that is the influence of conflict and work stress on employee performance. Case study at Terimakasih International Indonesia. Conflict arises because it is motivated by differences in characteristics that individuals bring in an interaction. These differences include physical characteristics, knowledge, customs, belief, ideas, and so forth. Many people consider that conflict is common in social interaction between peoples. And I think everyone must be in conflict. Okay, next. Definition of conflict. Conflict is a relationship between two or more parties, individuals, or groups that have different purposes of interest. Okay, next. Conflict view according to Stephen W. Robin. Number 1. The traditional view. The view states that conflict is a bad thing, something negative, detrimental, and should be avoided. Number 2, the human relation view. The view states that a conflict is considered as a natural event within a group or organization. Number 3, interactionist view. This view tends to encourage a group or organization to conflict. This is because an organization that is cooperative, calm, peaceful, and harmonious tends to be static, apathetic, not aspirational, and not innovative. Therefore, according to this view, conflicts need to be maintained at a minimum level on an ongoing basis so that each member in the group remains spirited, critical, self-sufficient, and creative. Furthermore, the negative and positive impacts of conflict. The first, negative impact of conflict. Number 1, common reactions to conflict such as the inability to concentrate and think clearly with increased distractions and the ability to relax. Number 2, conflict leads to stress, which then encourages the emergence of good cynicism towards co-workers. Second, positive impact of conflict. Number 1, strengthening relationships. The point is that two people who are able to recognize the differences between conflicts can then have a useful discussion to resolve the conflict so that each other can get to know each other more deeply. Number 2, increase trust. The point is that if the two people can resolve the conflict, they will trust each side more in the future by knowing that the differences between them can be resolved. Number 3, strengthening creativity and productivity. The point is conflict, if well managed, is a condition that allows creativity and discussion between people with different interests, and the end to the realm of increased productivity. And the last is job satisfaction. Okay, next, levels of conflict. The first, intra-individual conflict. This conflict arises in an individual with his or her own thoughts. The individual experiences some kind of emotional stresses in himself. The second, Conflict between individuals occurs between one individual and another individual or more, usually due to differences in a nature and behavior of each person in the organization. Number 3. Conflict between groups. If the group units are in conflict with units from the other groups. This conflict, if protracted, will make coordination and integration of activities become constrained or difficult. Number 4. Conflict between organizations. Conflicts can also occur between organizations due to a body's incompatibility with the performance of an organization. Okay, next, conflict resolution. When conflict have occurred between individuals and groups, a number of ways must be done to resolve them. Here, I will explain there are 4 points. First, awareness from both sides that conflict must be resolved. Second, make sure both sides focus on the issue rather than attacking personally. Number 3, all parties shall accept the mutually agreed solution. Number 4, communicate as before without any change after the conflict occurs. Okay, next, after discussing the next conflict issue, I will discuss about work stress. Work stress is a dynamic condition in which an individual is faced with opportunities, demands, or resources related to one that individual desires and whose results are seen as uncertain and important. Factor causing work stress. The first, absence of social support. This means that stress will tend to arise in employees who do not get support from their social environment, so social support here can support work or family environment. Many cases that indicated that employees who experience work stress are those who do not get support from the family, as well as when a person does not get support from his co-workers, both leaders and subordinates who tend to be more prone to stress. This is due to the absence of social support that causes discomfort in the work and duties. Second, absence of opportunity to participate in decision making in the office. Usually, this is related to the right and authority of a person in carrying out his duties and duties. Many people experience work stress when they are unable to decide which issues are their responsibility and authority. Work stress can also occur when an employee is not involved in decision making that concern him or her. Number 3, working environment conditions. Working environment conditions in the form of temperatures that are too hot or cold, too bright or dark, and so on. Where the room is too hot to cause discomfort to a person in carrying out his work, so does the room too cold. Heat only in terms of air temperature, but also circulation and air currents. Okay, last, unhealthy management. It means that many people are stressed in the work when the leadership style of the manager tends to be neurotic. A very sensitive leader who does not trust others, especially here against subordinates. Too perfectionist, too dramatist, the mood thus affecting decision making in the workplace. The work situation is always suspicious of subordinates, raising events that should be trivial or such, but furthermore not free in carrying out their work that will ultimately stress workers. Examples of cases of conflict and stress work in company where I work. Someone who likes to joke excessively and it deplaces the physicality or other individuals. And the other individuals have a tasteful nature, so if listening to such jokes, he feels excessive because he has carried around the physical or someone who he thinks is disrespectful to make jokes. There may also be someone who has a cool attitude if invited to joke like that. However, back again to each individual. However, I think joking that brings a person's physical form is a disrespectful thing in the language of joking in a communication. And I have individual conflict like the above. Sometimes I as a tasteless person also worry. Sometimes I feel like I'm told by his response to the joke. I even came to my mind and feel hurt. Or do I have changed my tasteful nature? Sometimes I am confused about having to behave. And this is undeniable because my taste is very inherent in me. The way to resolve the conflict that I have done is with awareness from both sides that the conflict must be resolved. I think it is quite effective if each party feels aware they are involved in a conflict. And that's quite easy to do because it's just meeting with the party and discussing the issue and how to resolve it. Usually, by meeting conflict will be easier to resolve. After a conflict and resolve it, usually the relationship between individuals will be closer. And my advice, if I experience the same conflict that I experienced, is to resolve it immediately because I think the sooner the conflict is resolved, the closer the relationship between individuals. In Islamic teachings also teaches that if there is a conflict against other individuals should not be more than 3 days because later the reward of prayer will not be accepted for 40 days. Okay, finally the presentation from me is done. If there is a wrong word, please be forgiven and thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.